This is Let's Talk Teens, a parenting podcast sharing tips on raising amazing teenagers. We are both certified life coaches that have worked with teenagers as coaches, mentors, and teachers. We are sharing what we have found to work best when dealing with teens and tough issues. This is Abbi and Cheree, Let's Talk Teens, episode 93, Body Image and Teens.
So, Abby, I have been really surprised lately. I was talking to my niece actually earlier in the week, and I was really surprised that she was talking about, I was just asking her, like, she's 17. What do you think teens struggle with the most that parents have no idea about? And she very quickly was like, body image. And I'm like, yeah, I think I knew that for girls. And she's like, no, no, no. Like, she's like, Aunt Shree, it's not just girls. Like, boys struggle with it just as much or more than girls. And I'm like, really? And so that really surprised me. So I've been thinking about it and doing some research on that. And it is surprising to me that like there are a lot of boys that compare themselves to others, like athletes of like, oh, I need to have a bigger muscular build, or I'm too scrawny, or I'm too, short, or I'm too tall, and that is something that is that boys have body image issues as well. And that shouldn't surprise me because I had three boys and I saw that in them. But I don't know why I always think that's a girl thing. So I just thought today would be a great time to talk about parents, how we can really help your teens, like things you can do to help your teens have a healthier body image.
I love that. And so many thoughts here of I've shared before that when I first started coaching, I was really blown away that all these girls that in my head had this ideal body type of being so thin, that we had to coach on body image because they wanted to be curvier and they just felt like they didn't have boobs or a butt or, all these things that I was like, oh, I thought everybody just wanted your body type. So that was really mind blowing for me when I first started coaching teens of, oh, it's both sides. It's if you're too skinny, it's if you're too curvy, if you're too tall, if you're too short. Nobody's ever happy with their body, I've decided. And then I'll never forget, I had a boyfriend in high school and I loved that he was super thin and lanky and tall. Like that's the body image that I liked about him. And I remember him being like, I've got to do all these protein supplements and like just being so concerned about building up body muscle. And he literally couldn't. He
Woke
just
up.
didn't have that body type. But I just remember being like, why are we worried about this? Because I liked how tall and skinny he was, right? And so it's both sides of just for guys, they want to be bulky and muscular and tall. And for girls, it's either I want to be curvy or I don't have those curves. You can't ever be happy, right? So it's a hard topic.
Yeah, I have heard very few girls who are like, especially when it comes to like our chest size, it seems like we're always like, oh, I have too much or I don't have enough. Like, very few times do girls say, oh, I'm just perfect in that area, or same, with our
Yeah.
hips. But so it's true. I think we all have this negative bias in our brain of our body image and our body type, and it's so easy to go there so fast. So here's how we can help as parents. Here's how we can help them have a healthier body image, knowing that we're all still going to be a little bit hypercritical of our body. Okay, the first one is model healthy talk about your own body. Teens are going to absorb how you talk to yourself about yourself and your body. They're going to notice that. And if that's just normal, they're going to make that normal for them. If it's you're talking, you're showing a lot of gratitude for your body, or like saying things like, I am so thankful that my body is strong enough to run, or I love that my body responds so well to healthy food. And we say things like that versus, oh my gosh, I'm so fat, or "Ugh, I'm just too thin, or I don't have a big enough chest, or, for a man, like, I need more muscles. I'm just not bulky, and dads are saying that, or moms are saying things, like, I just think it's so important how we as adults talk about our own body.
Oh, well, and even like further to think about like the psychology of this, of more likely than not, your youth is got your body characteristics. I get
Sure.
sometimes they pull from
Yep.
grandma, grandpa, the
Yep.
other side of the family, but that makes it even more critical when you're like, oh, I hate my nose. My nose is so big. Your teenager is sitting there with that nose, right? With
Yeah.
that body type. So when we can find the best thing about our body type, and every body type has that, of saying, like, yeah, we're athletes. We are thin, lean machines, but we're fast because of that, right? And just talking up their strengths or saying, yeah, you pull from the side of the family that is so strong or curvy and beautiful, or you have the thickest hair. Like, I mean, there's so many positives to every type of beauty. But if we can find that and really own and magnify that, that helps our youth because that becomes their inner voice. If I've told my youth how much I hate my nose my whole life, well, they're going to look in the mirror and see that nose that they have, and then they get that negative self-talk. So, oh, Cheree, I couldn't agree more because how we view our body and those traits that we're grabbing from grandma, grandpa, aunts, uncles, different sides of the family can make a huge difference in our youth's self-talk.
Absolutely. And then that just turns right into like, be really careful about how you talk to your teen about their body. And, you bringing up the big nose thing is so interesting. We just went and saw Michael. Have you seen the Michael Jackson movie?
No, but I want to so bad. I
So
love
good. You need to
Winslow.
go see it.
But
But
that was his thing. He was told he got a big nose.
by his dad.
Mm-hmm.
And I never knew that. And I'm like, oh, no wonder he got so many nose jobs. Like it made sense. But as a little boy who he was so cute and so adorable, his dad's like big nose. That's what he would tell him. And so I'm like, I mean, it's so our little kids are so impressionable. And he carried that from a very, very young age into his adulthood where he needed to change his nose because he still believed that there was something wrong with his nose. So being really cautious about what we say to ourselves and then very cautious about what we just say to our kids, even if it's in passing, even if we don't mean harm by it, our brain can just latch onto that and make it problematic and make it, like find all the reasons why we're not enough or our body is not enough.
Can
Um,
I share?
yes, please.
This is, how you're like family lore, right? Um, but I remember my aunts telling me this that they, I have two aunts that are very close in age and they're like thick as thieves and they're beautiful and tall, like just models, in that way. And they had one of their great aunts come to visit, and their family was so far away that this was like they never saw them. So they'd seen them when they were babies, and then they'd seen them when they were adults. And this aunt, thinking she was saying the right thing, she said, "Oh, that blonde one sure is beautiful, right?" Well, my aunt heard that who was not the blonde one. And I don't think this great aunt meant anything by that. Of like, I was just saying that this daughter is really beautiful. But she took that as, oh, and I'm not, right?
Mhm.
And I remember having a similar experience of being at a family party, and my uncle just kept talking about how beautiful his daughter and my cousin were. And they're just so beautiful. And they were older than me. They were these teenage girls really rocking high school. And I'm sitting there going, why are you leaving me out? Right? Like, why am I not included in the circle of the beautiful cousins? Right? So, oh, we have to be so careful. Even like they're just thinking, oh, I'm just complimenting this person, right? But I'm sitting there at the table going, why am I not a part of the cousins that are considered beautiful, And so we got to be really careful with what we say.
Well, and I would guess that there's been probably many times in your life, Abby, where someone has told you you're beautiful, but you don't remember that, but you
No.
remember when you were left out of it, or when you were maybe, told the opposite or told something negative about you. Like, man, our brain holds on to that. And someone can tell us like 100 times that we're beautiful, and it doesn't make like that impact on us. But if someone tells us one time we're ugly, and man, that just creates the biggest impact,
Yeah.
and we remember that forever. So just being careful. Thank you for bringing that up. So important. Okay, as parents, a great thing we can do is compliment function over appearance.
Yes.
So
Oh,
instead of being like, "Oh, you have the like most like muscular legs," or your legs are so like perfect or something, it's instead of being like, "Man, your legs got you through that whole hike." Like, instead of like, "Oh, you have like the most toned muscles," or "Look how muscular." It's your legs were able to get you through that whole hike. That is just so much better. Or instead of like, "Oh, you're so skinny," it's, "Oh my gosh, look at what your legs do for you."
hmm.
And so instead of appearance, we're focusing more on the function of them.
I've done this exercise before with some of the girls that I've coached just because we've been doing the battle of self-esteem. And I'll be like, who's some of the most impactful people in your life that you love? And it's always grandma, mom, siblings. I'm like, okay, why do you love them? And they're like, oh, my grandma, she raised me. She taught me this. She would take me to go do these things. Or my brother, it's him and I together, right? And I have them look at their list and go, okay, did you put that they were beautiful? Did you put that they were a size two? Or did you put these things? And those
Mm.
are never the reason that they love
Oh,
or idolize this person. And I think it helps us go, yeah, like don't get me wrong, I want to look beautiful and I want to be a certain size and I want to feel healthy and strong. But that's not why people are going to say, "Oh, I loved Abby. I loved Abby because she was this size." No, they're going to say by the way that I made them feel, right? Or by we would do these things together. And so I love that. We need to shift from like don't get me wrong, I love to be told I look good, but when somebody will say something like you did this and it made an impact, or I just love that you're so good at this. Oh, those are the compliments that make a difference.
what a great exercise that you do. That's so great with your clients. So impactful. So good. Love that. Okay, and then this one kind of goes along with what you were saying earlier too, Abby, of just, like leaving you out of the beautiful thing, but is actually avoid commenting on bodies at all. Like
Mhm.
just don't comment on the weight, the shape, the changes, even if you mean it kindly, like what you had said, but neutral or no comment at all is safest, especially for your teens, like as they're going through a lot of body changes, right? And puberty is going to do that. But not commenting is the best a lot of times, like especially if like they have a lot of acne or if you notice, just different things in their growth. Like instead of being like, oh, I can tell you're getting taller, even though we think that's helpful, it's sometimes just better to not say it. Or even saying something like, oh, your skin's clearing up. We think that's helpful, but it still doesn't
Like what?
implying that it wasn't. And
Yeah.
so just sometimes just like no comment on their body. It doesn't need to be commented on.
I love that because I teach my little kids, I say, we don't comment on bodies. And every now and then I find myself where I'm like, oh my gosh, why would I say that or felt the need to say that when I was commenting on somebody's body in a way that I wouldn't want them to comment on mine?
Yeah. So, so true. Okay. Don't restrict food or push diets and like just frame food as a fuel and enjoyment, not like morality or not like, okay, this is
Yeah.
good, this is bad. And I would even say like, sometimes as adults, we do choose to, participate in a diet or a weight loss program or something we're doing. There's been times where I've counted calories and that's, like I'm putting in my macros or figuring out how much I'm eating a day. And actually, the thing that I've learned about that is very rarely did I ever tell my family I was doing that because I don't want it to be like, oh, this is something you have to do. This is
Mhm.
something I'm choosing to do because I actually feel better when I'm doing it. And if I were to have that conversation with them of like, oh, I'm counting calories, I would say, this is just, I feel better when I notice that I feel more in control and I just some goals for me. And that doesn't mean it's like, okay, this is what you should do. So I think being really cautious whenever we decide to do our own personal diets, that we frame them in a way of why we're choosing to them or maybe not bring attention to it and really don't for your teens and your kids be really cautious in restricting foods or making comments to them like, oh, that may make you fat, well, oh, this is going to catch up to you someday, you can eat like that now
Mm.
because you have a great metabolism, but someday I think we need to be really really careful about that.
Oh yeah. I, you know what? My favorite thing that I wish I could say I came up with this. I saw it from somebody else online. Um, my favorite thing when it comes to this is I try my very best to not treat like dessert or a cookie or a donut, which I love. I have a sweet tooth really bad. I
Same.
don't try to even save that for after. Like if my kids, if we're gonna have cookies for dinner, I serve it with the food. And it's just on the table. That way, it's not even like special. It's just like, yeah, you want a cookie? It's right there. Same with the broccoli, same with the salad, same with the meat. Like
Wow, that's a great idea. Yeah.
yeah, and that way it really does take away not the specialness because like I can appreciate a great dessert, but just like it neutralizes it. It doesn't idolize it that, oh, I better eat this cookie. It's yeah, that's an option for me if I want it, and it's there the whole time. We can get really weird with teens. I'll never forget coaching this one girl that I thought at first it was her being weird with her food, but it was her mom being weird with her food and saying, if you want to be on the cheer team, you've got to eat this certain way. And that was just so hard to navigate because the way that we approach food, if we make some foods special and some foods demonized, like it can really mess with us. So, hey, if you want to have a dessert or if we're going to offer donuts or ice cream, like sometimes I have to remind myself this on my youth, like, I want ice cream. I'm like, okay, like if I would have given it to him anyway, like, sure, awesome, have it. And here's your lunch. Like, there's nothing special. Here you go.
Yeah. I think about when my kids were younger and I did that. When you know more and you know better, you do better. So I give myself that grace. But I remember saying like, okay, if you eat your broccoli, then you can have a cookie, right? And that is just making food like some food's good and some's bad and some's like kind of like the broccoli is like you have to like push through that and then you get the treat, and we just want to change and really watch our narrative around food. Is this helpful or is this going to be hurtful? And I even remember like when your kids are little, it's like, oh, you need to eat this. How come you're not eating? You can't get down from the table until you eat. But still, see, we're pushing food instead of letting them listen to their bodies. It's just a good thing to watch.
This is informal research, but from what I've noticed from parents and youth that I've worked with, that it's actually healthier for a child's self-esteem to have what's called a gummy bear mom. And that is where they have candy in the house and you can have soda. Like it's kind of more just like free range and like a treat really would be like, here's a gummy bear versus an almond mom. Have you ever heard that where when you're an almond mom, if you're very healthy, which I try to be, but like if your child was to ask you for a treat, you would say, "Oh, here's 10 almonds," right? Like you'd be like, "Here's almonds." And so those are some titles online of viral trends, but
Love
they're
that.
saying that youth have better self-esteem and better relationships with food if they grew up with a mom that was a gummy bear mom of just like, yep, we have treats and you can eat them. Now, some of you are sitting there going, well, then my child's can get overweight and all these things. And I would really challenge those thoughts of where does that come from? Maybe you grew up with some of that. Um, but I also heard of this test, Cheree, that I just love. And I actually think it is one of the best little tricks the parent can pull up their sleeve. But if you want to know if your youth is maybe having an unhealthy relationship with food, it's called the cupcake test. And when your youth is invited to a party, are they stressing about that cupcake more than they are about the actual party? And so if a youth is more excited about eating that cupcake or eating that cake, or if you're teen, how I've seen it in teen girls is, oh, I want to go to this party, but I'm really worried like there's gonna be lots of treats there and I don't know if I should eat this food or maybe I'll just have one cupcake. Like if that's the dominating conversation around the event, then we need to have treats more often. Actually, like that's the solution of just saying, hey, let's go get a donut. Hey, let's go and like less demonization of food because that to me is a good indicator of my child has a healthy relationship with food if they're excited about the event and like celebrating this youth's birthday or going to a place, then they are stressed about the food.
Oh, I love that. So I am a little bit feeling called out here, Abby. No, just on the gummy mom and the almond mom. I think I probably was the almond mom.
Because okay, if you
I
feel called out, let me share this story with you. I am a repentant almond teenager because I have always loved health and fitness and exercise. I used to fat shame my family and I would print up like those posters that would show how much sugar was in like pop or drinks.
Yeah,
I
that was
printed
me,
up this
mom.
picture of like a blender full of like fat and I'd put them on our refrigerator. And thankfully, my parents would just laugh. Like everybody just thought it was hilarious. But I look back now and I'm like, I was a tyrant. Like I was a beast to live with that I was like, you guys drinking because I didn't do sugar or pop when I was a teenager. And hey, that's very common that they get into like health extremes.
Mhm.
Um, and my parents just laughed me through it. Like they were like, okay, like you do you. And I'm very grateful for that because Sheree, I was probably the most obnoxious tyrant about that you've ever met.
Well, I never ever bought soda. That was my big thing. When my kids were growing up, I was like, they're like, soda is so bad for you. And now I would say, everyone but one member of like in my family, immediate family, they all, it's like the regular daily. multiple doses
We
of that.
can't change the
And,
choices, right?
and I'm like, right, which is totally fair, but it's just so funny. I'm like, I actually have thought several times I created that because I made it seem so bad and then they
Mm.
wanted it. And so like, so but like I said earlier, when you know better, you do better. So called out because I know that I was an almond mom and I would change that now. And of course I have with my grandkids. I
I was gonna
actually
say you could give your grandkids soda, Cherie. You
I give
can.
my kids all the treats they want. No, it's so good. Okay, so just a few last ones is just, social media is so huge with body image, and so just maybe watch that exposure to that or talk about how social media is so filtered and things don't really look the same way as they do on social media as they are in real life. And I just think having those open conversations about what's real versus edited is a very helpful thing. Um, then I think just know the warning signs as a parent, like to know the warning signs of like something that might be a disorder, an eating disorder. Watch for that. Like, are they skipping meals? Are they too rigid? Are they like Abby and they're as a teenager and they're hanging signs? No,
They're fat
but
shaming the rest of
they're
the
fat shaming
family.
their
Yes.
parents.
Yes.
But like, or if they're exercising so they can earn food so that they can eat, or if they're avoiding mirrors or excessive on the mirrors or excessive on the scale or avoiding scale, we just kind of want to watch the extremes of all of it. And then just know that I always think in any situation, whether it be food or choices or dating or anything, open conversations are always so helpful. The more you can have open conversations, that you can be that safe place that your kids can talk about, that you're not shaming them, that you're not saying this is bad and this is good, but it's more asking them questions. What do you think about food? What do you think about your body? How do you feel about your body? What is some negative self-talk? And what are some things that you love about yourself? And making it so normal that they're experiencing all of that.
Mm.
And what do you see on social media that is hard for you to watch with your body? Or what do you notice about your friends that sometimes you're like, I'm kind of jealous. I wish I had this body type.
Yeah.
And just make it like, let's just talk about this. And then you as a parent don't need to fix it. It's just talking about it and awareness and giving some ideas or suggestions, but not like, well, this is what you need to do, but being like, oh, this is just good to be aware of and to look at. And this is what I've learned as a parent. And I think that can be the most helpful as your child is going to have some type of body image thoughts and issues to have just be able to have those open conversations.
I love that unlocked a memory for me, Sheree, that I'd forgotten about that I actually think is a great example of just like being neutral because there's a lot of things that are very normal for teenagers to become hyper obsessed with like their body and their looks, to want to work out all the time, to have food fixations. Like I decided I wasn't doing sugar or pop. I had a lot of students that were like, well, I'm vegan. And I'd be like, oh, when did you start that? And they're like, oh, just this year, right? So, like, that's super normal. So, if you're sitting there going, is my day normal or not? Like, that is super normal for you to start to flex some of those muscles of choices around their health. But I also think it's really powerful to stay neutral. Like when my parents, when I'm fat, putting the posters on the wall and like being like, I don't do sugar or pop, they were like, okay, sweet. This is what's for dinner. Right? Or like, you don't have to, we're going to go get ice cream. We want you to come, but you don't have to eat it. Right? Like they were so neutral about that. And
So good.
I remember one time for a dance, I had a dress that was like a little bit more open in the chest area, and I don't have any chest there. And so I remember my mom being like, because I was like, Mom, I feel like this would look better if I had bigger breasts. And she's like, do you want to borrow some inserts? And I was like, yeah. Like, and I just appreciated how neutral and like that was just like, hey, this dress needed a little bit of a boost there, not even in a weird, immodest way. But I just appreciated that it wasn't like a, oh, you don't like your body or, oh, you're
Mhm.
so small chested. It was just like, yeah, I agree that this dress needs like the way it's cut, it needs and it was like not even a big deal. And so I think being very neutral around, yeah, you want to wear higher heels because it looks better with this outfit. Sure, if you this, yeah. Or we should it to me it's like styling your hair, right? And some things of like, hey, we don't need to make a big deal about the fact that they want to work out and do a gym membership now, right? Like those are all pretty normal teen behaviors.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that last point up. I think that's so, so, so valuable is neutralizing it. And those were perfect examples. I love that. Love that. Well, we hope that something in this episode has just helped you know how you can talk to your teens about body image and help them through that because chances are they have some part of their body that they're not loving. And if you can neutralize it, if you can have these conversations with them, if you can, be healthy yourself in that, it will help them. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to Let's Talk Teens with Cheree Murdock and Abbi Winslow. If you are looking for more tips to help your teenager, here's where you can find us. You can find Cheree Murdock on Instagram at Cheree Murdock Coaching or on her website, ChereeMurdock.com. You can find me, Abbi, on Instagram as Abbi Winslow or on my website, AbbiWinslow.com. Please rate and review our podcast and share with a fellow parent. Thanks for listening.